welcome back to my channel. So we were out this morning away doing a couple things. We just got home and I thought I would start the video here. I'm working on lunch, or gonna start on lunch for my kiddos. We're just doing leftovers, nothing fancy. And then I have some groceries to put away. And also, I wasn't exactly sure where today was even gonna take me with filming, but I went to the grocery store and they had pumpkins, so now I know we are going to be doing some pumpkin today. I just got 2 neck pumpkins, so I'm going to get those started probably in my Dutch oven to soften, and then I will be canning those. I don't know how much of the process you guys will see because I'm planning on only vlogging for one day for this video, but I will try to at least explain it to you if you don't see the whole process. I also have a list. Actually, let me grab it 1 second. Okay, I'm back. I have a list all written out. I don't know if you guys can see it very well, but that's not, some of the things are doubled up. But my planner has this really cool part. I don't know if you guys will be able to see this, but over here, it has the day from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock p.m. in like, well, 6 a.m. in half-hour increments. So I have been scheduling out my day according to like kind of what our routine is, and it really helps me to stay on top of things because it has a time with it. So that's really cool. So I've been doing that, and then over here I just have a list of some of the bigger items that I want to get done. Some of them are written on the time side, some aren't. But anyways, we were out this morning, went to the grocery store, took Nelson his lunch, we picked up some pumpkins for a friend. So now we're home. And I got groceries to unload, and I've got a list to tackle because we were away longer than I intended. I wanted to get home at 10:30 and it's 12 o'clock. So that means that from 10:30 to 12, things that were on my list did not get done. So I figured I'll bring you guys with me as I try to tackle the rest of the list. 2 of the big things, like I said, I want to do pumpkin, and then I also saw a recipe on Instagram. If you guys don't follow Dorcas Kime at Homemade for Hosting, she posts some of the most scrumptious recipes, and her food looks amazing. She's so good at it. So she posted a copycat Starbucks pumpkin scone recipe that I want to try, so I figured we can try that together. I don't know where else the day is going to take us. I have a lot of odds and ends that I have to do, but I am going to bring you guys along, and at least for the highlights you'll get to see what we're up to today, and hopefully you enjoy it. So I'm going to just quick do a tidy up, put the groceries away, get lunch started, and then I'm not sure where we'll go from there, but we'll start working on my list and things like that.
So I thought I would chat with you guys while I unload groceries here and say this video gave me all the cozy fall feelings. I don't know where you guys live, if you have a fall season like we do here in PA, but here in PA we have chilly mornings, beautiful changes outside with the leaves changing their color, and it's just such a wonderful season full of yummy, tasty things to eat, good smells, good drinks, so many fun things. So maybe for this video, even if you don't necessarily have a fall season like we do outside, you can sit down, maybe light a candle, grab a warm drink, and just enjoy some of the coziness with me, maybe even try out some of the recipes with me that I'm trying today, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did making it for you guys. On a separate note, one of my favorite things about unloading my groceries, or about grocery shopping day, is filling my fruit basket here. I think I have this one linked in my Amazon storefront down below. I'll have to check for sure. But this thing has been so fun and such a great way for me to remember to incorporate more fruit and vegetables into my diet. It also is super cute and practical in my kitchen, gives me more storage space since I don't have a lot of counter space, and it's a great way for my kids to be able to grab an easy snack. If they're hungry, they know what fruit is available. So moving on to starting my pumpkin, I am doing it in 2 separate batches here in my 6-quart Dutch oven. I just had this out and figured it'd be perfect to use. So that's what I'm doing, but I cut up the first pumpkin in chunks and just laid it in the Dutch oven, and then the heart of the pumpkin, I don't know if that's what it's called, but where the seeds are, I just cut that in half, scooped it all out, all the seeds and all that stuff, and then cut it into chunks and put that in the Dutch oven as well. I know you can even do this in a roaster or a slow cooker to soften your pumpkin, and I did mine for about 2 hours on the stove on a medium heat. I also did add a little bit of filtered water into the bottom of my Dutch oven to just keep it from burning and also to help it cook faster.
So my kiddos are playing over on the couch, like right in front of me, so hopefully this doesn't get too loud. But I thought I would take a second and talk a little bit about why we decided to purchase a water filter. We did that in May, I think. This is not sponsored or anything by the company that we went with, but I wanted to share a little bit about them, and I did reach out to them. They gave me an affiliate link which gives you guys a discount. I do get a percentage when you purchase through my link, but it doesn't cost you any more, so it gives you guys a discount. And it's built right into my link and all that kind of stuff. So I thought I'd sit down and share a tiny bit about them because I just was refilling my Berkey after starting my pumpkin on the stove. So you guys might have heard of Berkey before. I know it's a pretty popular water filter. We've been looking for a water filter or looking around, and I wasn't really sure what to go with, and I also wanted something that was going to fit our budget. I mean, at some point obviously it would be optimal to have a whole house filtration system, but right now we rent, and that's not something that we can, first of all, do, second of all, afford. So we kind of wanted to make the improvement that we could at the time that was also budget friendly and stuff for us. So we decided to go with a Berkey filter, and this filter is gravity fed, so you don't have to hook it up to anything. Basically, there's like a top part here and a bottom part, and the top part has 2 filters in them. They're called elements. It can hold up to 4, but we only have 2 in, which is fine. And basically they're really dense. I don't know what I want to call them, but they're a really dense, it almost reminds you of a rock. And they have like micro pores that the water goes into after you prime them, and it filters out things like inorganic material. It filters out viruses, bacteria, heavy metals. It also filters out pharmaceutical products, which was a big thing for me. We opted to go with the big Berkey, which is 2.25 gallons, and that is plenty for our family for a day. I have to refill it once a day, sometimes even a little bit less than that. But they have a bunch of sizes. I think the first size is, well, they have like a on-the-go water bottle filter that they do, and then they also have a travel Berkey, which would be under this. I think that one is like 1.5 gallons, and then this is the big Berkey. The next size up from this one is the Royal Berkey, and then they also have a Crown Berkey and Imperial Berkey system, which even get bigger, so if you have a bigger family. I don't even mind refilling this one 2 or 3 times a day if I have to, because I like the size of it. We just have it here on our coffee bar. It's really easy to grab for a drink of water. It's really easy to get to cook with. You could put it next to your sink. We don't have room the way our kitchen is situated. But I will say, for a while, even Nelson would say, I don't think it bothered me quite so bad, but he would drink less water because of how bad our water tasted. It tasted so bad. And we didn't even do any testing on it. It just tasted nasty. So when we got this, I got him a cup and I was like, okay, here's the real test. What do you think? And he's like, oh my goodness, this tastes like well water that I grew up on. He loved it. So I definitely will say, even just for the taste, we love it, but just to know that it's filtering out all that list of things that I said, plus even some more. I haven't even done all the like deep dive reading into their lab tests. Berkey actually has a section on their website that is full of lab testing for what their filters filter out, testing that they did on the water. And so if you're someone who's looking into buying a water filter and you're looking for a good quality one that's affordable, but also does a good job, check them out. You can go on their website, read all the lab tests of how what it filters out, all that kind of stuff. They also have an optional fluoride filter that you can put in here. I have not purchased one yet. It's something I want to do at some point, but kind of make small improvements as we can. The filters for this system that we chose have to be replaced every 3 to 5 years, I think is what it says, but they need to be cleaned pretty frequently. They're really easy to clean. There's videos online and different things that you can watch if you're wondering how to clean, but I wanted to just share a tiny bit with you guys about our water filter, why we chose it. We actually took it with us to the beach this summer. We just literally set it in our car and drove with it, and it was so nice. I knew that the water there was probably city water, and I really didn't want to be drinking it. I also did not want to have to buy a ton of bottled water. I'm not against using it when I have to, but the fact that that water sits in plastic and gets like heated and cooled with the changing temperature and all that kind of stuff just kind of grosses me out a little bit. So like I said, I'm not against drinking it. I will if I have to, but I definitely like having this option. And it was really nice for when we went away. Like I said, they also have a Go Berkey, which is literally like a quart or half gallon size for on the go. But anyways, this is kind of a little ramble, but I wanted to tell you guys why we bought ours and if we've been liking it, how we've been liking it, does it still work, is it easy to clean, all those things. And just say that I do have a link down below. I've been including it in my description box for a while now, but if you're someone who's looking for a system, the link is down below. I try to post on Instagram if they're having sales or anything like that. And I'll do some checking and make sure there's not additional discount codes that you can use on top of the one I already have down below. If you're someone who's looking for one, definitely check it out. We love ours and have been loving it for this whole entire hot summer. So anyways, I'm going to take a break, eat some lunch with the kiddos, and I'll catch up with you guys in a little bit when I'm ready to make some scones.
By now my pumpkin was nice and soft and it was quite hot, but I wanted to get a move on as far as canning it and all that kind of thing. So I went ahead and I scooped all the flesh, or whatever you want to call it, out of the skins, and then I just put the skins in a separate bowl and obviously get rid of them. And I scoop the pumpkin into my blender until I have, you know, however much I want to blend up. And then I always add a little bit of water to it. You don't have to, and I don't have a set amount. I just kind of look for that nice texture that's nice for baking, all that kind of things. Also, on a side note, you might want to vent your blender, especially if your pumpkin is really hot. And then from there, I just fill up pint jars and get them ready to can. It's a super simple process, and it's really nice to have your own canned pumpkin on the shelf. So now I'm getting a start on the scones. These were so easy to make, and I will say there's a couple things that I am going to change the next time I make these, but I'm going to leave the recipe down below for you guys. This makes either like 8 large pieces, or you could even get 16 small scones out of it. But you go ahead first and combine all your dry ingredients in one bowl, all your wet ingredients in another, and it's super basic ingredients. So you have your flour, your baking powder, your baking soda, your sugar, and your salt, and then you also have a little bit of brown sugar and some good spices like cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, and cloves. I do for my brown sugar, you might know this if you've been watching my channel for a while, or you might not if you're new, is I actually make my own brown sugar instead of buying it. It's really, really easy. You just add about 1 tablespoon of molasses to 1 cup of sugar. So I don't measure it anymore, and you can add more or less according to if you want a dark brown sugar or light brown sugar, but since I've been doing this for a while, I kind of can just eyeball it. But you mix it up and you get this incredibly fresh smelling, tasting brown sugar. This is what I use in all my recipes as brown sugar. It works great, and it's really, really easy to keep on hand, and it doesn't take up as much space as if I was storing 2 different kinds of sugar in my pantry. So I had this part maybe a little bit out of order, but you take a stick of butter, a half cup, and grate that. You could also do like cube the cold chunks, but it needs to be cold. And then you add this into your dry ingredients. I did this before combining my wet ingredients, and I probably should have flipped it around so the butter was as cold as possible. In my dry ingredients, one thing for scones is that you want some of your ingredients to be cold, which, like I said, I'll put the directions down below. But the pumpkin that I'm going to use here in my wet ingredients is also cold and was refrigerated before I used it in this recipe. The pumpkin that I'm using here actually was from 2 years ago. It's been 2 years since I canned pumpkin, and I had so much from 2 years ago I didn't have to do last year, but like you saw, I'm doing this year. But it's still perfectly good and works great for recipes. It's so nice to have it on hand. It's not something you have to add to your grocery list. And I always can mine in pint jars just because I'm never going to use like a quart in one recipe. Anyhow, back to the scones. I'm adding all my wet ingredients, so an egg, some fresh buttermilk, which is really cool that I have it fresh in my fridge, also some pumpkin, and then also I'm combining some honey in here as well. Once I had the wet ingredients mixed together, I moved back to the bowl with my dry ingredients and just used my hands to combine the butter well and kind of just get it as well combined and worked into the flour mixture as possible. And then from there, I added my wet batter into the flour mixture. So these scones are super simple, and you don't have to do this step like I did, but when I'd made scones before, the recipe said to refrigerate them. So to be on the safe side, I put my batter out onto a piece of parchment paper, and then using another piece on top, I formed it into kind of like a flat circle because I cut my triangle pieces, I guess, out of a circle, and I refrigerated this for probably about half an hour before baking. This is a step you don't have to do. I did it just because I wanted to make sure my batter was cold enough and would not spread out too far on my baking sheet when it went in the oven. After that was in the refrigerator, I got it out, and I will tell you, I should have sprayed my parchment paper because it did stick a little bit. It was completely fine, but that is just FYI. If you do refrigerate it like I did, it did stick. and this made one giant round of scones. So like when I cut this into slices, they were massive. So just again for future reference, I think I would actually divide this into 2 smaller rounds and then cut those up, so that way your scones aren't quite as big as like pumpkin pie slices. After I had it formed and on a baking sheet, I put it in the oven, and I'll leave the times and temperature down below. But I did take it out before it was completely done and divide it into the 8 pieces just so I could kind of separate it and make sure it was baked completely through. And scones do tend to bake a little harder than, say, cookies or something like that, at least in my experience, okay? I'm definitely not an expert on this, but I wanted to cut it and then stick it back in the oven so they could kind of bake individually instead of baking as one big giant round.
My windows open so that I can hear the sound of...
I got it out again after I put this back in the oven and separated the pieces kind of again, and here then I moved the pieces apart just so they could brown and bake a little bit more individually. This is kind of a process, and you don't have to do it this way at all. You could form your batter into little triangles from the start, and then you wouldn't have to do this like what I did. But the way I had made scones before, this is what I did and it worked, so I did it again for this recipe.
I'm gonna let the past be filled with smoke.
So moving on to the icing that these get. The first icing is a powdered sugar and cream icing. It's really simple and super easy. That goes over the whole top of the scones, and then there's a separate kind of like a pumpkin glaze that gets drizzled over them. They are both so good, and they really take these to the next level. But all in all, these scones have such an excellent flavor.
Be carried by the waves. Oh, I will open up my eyes so I can see the light. Oh, and I'll try to spread my wings so I can fly. Oh, and the darkness starts to fade. Feels like things are gonna go my way. I'm gonna let the sun shine in the day.
I will say that my kind of white glaze that goes on first, so the cream and the powdered sugar, I made it a little bit too thin, so next time I'm going to make it a little thicker and use a knife to put it on my scones instead of just letting it kind of run over the sides. That way it's more like a, I don't know, frosting type of icing, not exactly, but next time that's what I'm going to do, and then drizzle the pumpkin over top instead of both of them being a thinner consistency. These turned out so great and so delicious, so I definitely recommend trying this recipe at home. I hope you guys enjoyed coming along with me today. I did not have much more that I was doing today, so I'm actually going to end the vlog here. Once these are made, like I said, they turned out perfect. They were a great addition for fall, and I actually ended up having a friend over and we enjoyed them together, so that was lots of fun. Thank you guys so much for coming along with me today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will be seeing you guys next week in my next video.